Faster installations. Don't get me wrong, DBCA, the Database Configuration Assistant, is cool. I like having a GUI, but it also can be a little bit tedious. If you're like me, and often if someone says, oh, can you please test something on this version, or I want to try something, I don't want to run it on an existing database and cause damage. If I want to test things like backup and recovery or corruption, or as DBAs do, we want to test out our knowledge and our skill base regularly, then I'll create a new database. But it's a bit tedious. That takes a while to start up, and then you're familiar with this, so it goes great. It says, yes, I'm initializing the JVM, etc. And you sort of stroll through that list of steps. Choose the database, choose whether it's container, choose this, choose that, choose where the storage is going to be. You continue on and ask lots and lots of questions. It doesn't take long, but it's something that that you're going to basically, with the exception of the database name, is you're going to type in the same information every single time. One way of speeding that up is at the final page, and this is something that I think is commonly done by DBAs, so it probably won't come as news to you, is we might do something like this. As well as creating the database, we want to save a set of scripts. So if I need to run this database again, create this database again, I can just run the scripts, or we might choose to save it as a database template, which stores the information for that database such that next time I can just load up a template and bypass some, but not all, of those screens we just saw. They're both good options. Don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing them. They're good options to pursue. My only concern is even if you store it as scripts, the result you end up with is a folder full of scripts and you need to run them. Now on Windows, you can see it creates you a bat file, which drives the whole thing. On Linux or Unix, it creates you a shell file. But still, we often have to go in there. If I'm going to create a different database now, I have to go hunting and find whereabouts in all those scripts the database name was. If I'm creating a database called ABC, and I've done that, my next database is called EFG, I have to go hunting for all the occurrences of ABC in that set of scripts if I'm going to try get some benefit of reusing. It's fiddly. One thing that some people aren't aware of is that DBCA, in fact, a lot of our configuration tools have a command line interface. It's a pain to type in the first time, but once you've done it, it literally becomes a one-line operation to create a database. Most DBAs, we're lovers of the command line. And this is how it runs. You can use DBCA -silent, means it won't bring up any of the in screens. Now this is all on one line. I've put it down the screen, but it actually goes all the way across one line. You can use your end of line separators depending on your environment, but it just goes on one line. And this is literally, we just type these in, and once you've got one of these, you're done. Simply save it in a file. You can choose to have a response file, but you don't need one. I don't need to, like in the old days of the universal installer, go through it and save a list of responses and then replay them. You don't need a response file. All these parameters are documented in the universal installer guide and the configuration guide, but you can just take them off this slide if you want. I'll put them on my blog at some stage. I'm going to create a database. It has a global name. I give it an Oracle SID. I choose the character set. Hopefully everyone's using UTF-8 character sets across the board. I can choose an existing template name if I want. So if I've built a template in the past using DBCA, I can use that template. I can create it as a container base, yes or no. So true or false. If I'm doing a container, which of course we all are, because that's the only thing that's supported in 20C onwards, I can do number of PDBs, give them the PDB names, give it some passwords. Hopefully you'll choose better passwords than I just did. Choose the memory settings. I go automatic memory management false, which is the default from 12.2 onwards. We don't use automatic memory management anymore. We use the shared pool automatic management and the PGA management, but we keep them separate. Choose a total memory. You can actually nominate SGA size and PGA size if you like. I'm using file systems in my storage. It could be ASM. That's where all my data files are going to go. Ignore the prerequisites, which means I'm just being lazy here. It's not going to go through and prompt me for those things that normally it might say, do you have enough swap space? Do you have this, etc.? It'll bypass all that. I'm not going to hook it up to EM. We're done. And literally, you hit return, and that's what happens. You just let it chug away. And it is literally going through the exact same DBCA steps. It's not bypassing anything. It's just using the exact form, but it's doing it at the command line level. But you get a nice progress, and it grows, and then we're done. If you're on Windows, it does all the things you'd expect. It creates the services under the services tree, etc. It does everything that DBCA does, just at the command line. So this, I think, is a much, much simpler and faster way of creating the database, even faster than scripts, because scripts are hard to edit if you want to change the database name. With DBCA on the command line, it literally is just change some flags, create as many databases as you want. That's pretty cool. And the final thing, of course, is command line interface means it can be automated. So if you've got Docker scripts, if you've got Liquibase, Vagrant, etc., that all sit in some sort of large set of automation tools, you can now put database creation in that as well, as opposed to having to, hey, everyone, stop the automation. I just need to create a database, and then we'll resume.